It was 3 years ago, and I was studying pretty much 6 hours a day for this big test that was coming up. And I didn't just do that in the previous day, you know, I was effortfully studying days before this specific exam happened. And then we got the results after a couple of days, and I remember that it was a fucking C, you know. And the time investment is essentially haven't worth it, because other people who did way less than me still achieved the C, so I was understandably pretty depressed. And from that I went to studying pretty much 2 to 3 hours a day at maximum, and a straight A's I haven't got a. I have like 2 B's in this year, and we have like 40 fucking grades, you know, so I was really able to turn this around and become a high achiever student. So I think these tips that have helped me will help you tremendously in your journey to become a better student effortlessly. So I will cut to the fluff. I will get to the straight point here, and I won't ruin your time. So basically, for studying, a growth mindset is really beneficial, and you know, it's like kind of a wishy-washy mindset. At least it was for me, because I love competing and I love overcoming hard obstacles despite the unlikeliness of it. I like that intrinsic motivation of being behind, and that's been my mindset for basically everything in the last couple of weeks. But a more basic growth mindset can come in handy when we are talking about especially studying. Okay, so what is a growth mindset? The opposite of a fixed mindset. The fixed mindset is kind of, you know, I can't learn this, I can't learn that, I can't grow as a person, it's, you know, impossible, other people, I can't do it because I was born with it, you know. And the growth mindset says that, okay, I can improve this is a skill, this is improvable, I can learn this, I can learn better, I can achieve higher grades, you know. And that's why it's really beneficial, because you're not fucking born knowing anything about, for example, math. By having a growth mindset, you implement into yourself that you can actually learn math, and that's why it's really beneficial. And it's really true that your skills contribute way less to your achievements than actual effort. So my next step on my list is getting better health, and this is essential. In health, we are not all talking about physical fitness, we are also talking about mental health and brain health, which are, you know, obviously pretty important when we are a student. But first you will have to start with physical health. At least that's what I started with, you know, working out and paying attention to my diet. And that is really important, because these factors greatly contribute to both mental health and brain health, which are like the foundation of you retenting any knowledge that you learn from school, especially mental health, because it's gonna help you tremendously to actually do the studying and feel better about studying. What these health components are fitness, you know, getting enough exercise, but also cardio is really important when we are talking about this, because it's gonna literally improve your brain functions. And cardio is really awesome, do your fucking cardio. Also weights, because also you're gonna look better and you're gonna feel better about yourself, therefore your mental health is gonna be way better, your brain is gonna function way better than it did originally. Clean diet is both important for your physical looks and health, but also your mental health and brain performance, because you need to feed your brain with quality foods in order for it to function properly. And for mental health, these are really important, by the way, for concentration, meditation, and journaling, which have helped me improve my mental health the most by far. And these are the next big contributor for my success. And the other one is dopamine detoxing. This is the kind of fact where you are staying away that anything that could potentially spike your dopamine really high. And what these are for example, junk food, porn, video games, and social media scrolling, and drugs. These are the things that you will have to abstain from completely. And I even like going on monk mode, especially before big exams. And it's literally just studying for longer concentrated periods when you literally don't do anything else but to study. But these are really extreme cases, and you shouldn't do it all year around because you're gonna get burnt out, and I don't recommend you do that because it's gonna inhibit your progress the most by far. So yes, mental health, physical health, dopamine detoxing, and a clean diet will be the foundations that you will be able to study on. Once we have these foundations, then we will have to create the kind of person who can indeed study, not just have the foundations of fitness, you know, but also the person who can sit down and study through a 3 hour long session, because it's gonna be needed. Let's be honest, that there is no magic formula of you looking at a text and instantly knowing it. You have to put in the effort. It's just less effort than you would do as a regular student, you know. The next step is to create an identity, which, being a high effort student, is ingrained in. Why this is important? Because if you've been a not studying person for the most of your life, you can develop an imposter syndrome when you are trying to study, and that won't be beneficial because you just won't be able to study. You will be deliberately looking out for distractions in order to not study. You're not gonna make any fucking process doing that. So by creating a new identity, you basically force this student identity into yourself, and as not just student but a high effort student, the high achievement student, you know, the kind of person who achieves straight A's, is a faulty kind of identity, because once you get a bad grade, then this identity can shatter, and we don't want that. I don't want to give you a fucking existential crisis at 16 years old. So by taking on the identity of being a high effort student is more beneficial, because the effort you put in is directly under your control and the grades are not. That's why we want to have a high effort mindset, a high effort identity. But when creating your V2 identity, you don't want to just include the studying aspects of it and the effortful work, but also other areas of life, you know, family relationships, romantic relationships, fitness and mental health, and all of these things that laid the foundation but also essential to your life. And this is important because we don't want to create a one-dimensional you who is just focused on solely studying and sacrificing everything else, because that way you are gonna achieve neither any endeavors or studying any success in it. You're not gonna achieve it because your health will fucking suck and your relationships will be non-existent and you will be depressed, and that way just nothing fucking gets achieved, especially when you are studying and being in that social environment as a adolescence, you know, a younger person. Don't sacrifice your health and relationships for studying, because you can do it in the meantime. And once we have this identity of being a high achieving student, then we have to stack an undeniable body of evidence of you being the person who say you are. And you can do that by simply fucking studying a lot and putting in a lot of effort and a lot of concentrated effort. And I have a specific morning routine for this, which I'm excited to share with you. Have consistent early wake up time, or if you prefer studying past midnight, you know, if that's your thing, then do that, but I don't recommend that because most people generally are better to wake up early and make sure to have at least 7 hours of sleep with this. So that's why I think it's more realistic to wake up around 4:30. Don't sleep in on the weekends, and the first thing you, after waking up, you are gonna do your hardest task of the day, of the studying, you know, the hardest possible studying exercise that you can possibly do. For example, that for me is memorizing the previous day, memorizing everything that a topic, for example from history, that a history topic has, and then writing it down first thing in the morning without any help, you know, without checking any documents what is in the topic, but writing down everything from my memory. And this has helped me tremendously to perform way better than, well, a lot of people on exams without way less studying. This first thing in the morning after waking up is firstly time efficient, but also your brain is the sharpest when you wake up and you don't have breakfast. And additionally, I do a cold shower before studying, and this really helps me to use most of my brain capacity for this given task that I'm about to do and have no distractions. Don't check your phone after you wake up and until you finish your eat the frog test. That's what we like to call it in this productivity community. And yes, so this test should be the most cognitively challenging test that you can possibly think of. That may be practicing exam questions, you know, solving really hard mathematical equations, maybe, if that's your thing, if that's important for you. The point here is to have the most high ROI task done first thing in the morning, and that will first skyrocket your productivity, and the rest of the day will just feel easy, and you will be done with like 80% of the results that you will have to achieve throughout the day. If you are really short on time, then I would abandon the rest of the tasks, you know, that are trivial, that will only contribute to the last 20% of your results, but those could be also really important. So my tactic is actually to use the rest breaks in school productively. I either socialize with other people, you know, connecting, or doing these trivial tasks that are not so important for your overall studying experience. And no fucking scrolling on TikTok in the rest breaks, because it's gonna ruin your brain's ability to concentrate for the next lesson, which may or may not be important depending on the importance of the lesson. But also you will just feel fucking awful when you are trying to concentrate on something harder. So don't skyrocket your fucking dopamine between the rest breaks, because it's gonna be counterproductive. Rather socialize or do something productive. For example, I like completing my trivial tasks in the rest breaks, so that way I have way more freedom once I get home, and after school I really don't study. I just set up myself for the next day's eat the frog task and go to the gym and work on the business, you know, and do all these crazy stuff that for most students are unachievably time consuming. But I've been able to pull it off because of this work in the morning, which is really important, and I really hope that you implement it to your life as soon as possible. And the other important thing here is commuting, because I know a lot of you commute a lot. I do personally, so I also use these commuting routes productively. And by the way, productivity doesn't just mean okay studying and or listening to podcasts, which is really beneficial, and I like listening to podcasts on long commutes. But sometimes I'm just not in the fucking mood and I just rather stare out the window, which is also really good for your mental health. It kind of gives you a rest, and it's similar to meditation if you are commuting and you are staring out. It's amazing. The one thing to avoid here is listening to degenerate music again, because affirmations do really work. This is not studying related, this is just generally self-improvement related, to not listen to fucking degenerate music. Rather sit in silence than to have this degenerate message of music pumping into your brain, because it's gonna affect the way you think. And be aware of what you listen to, because it's gonna transform your thoughts. And also, as a much more general rule of thumb, not really practical, but you know, really important, is to have an essentialist approach to school. That doesn't mean just to complete the essential task, but to focus on the essential things, you know. Because, for example, going to parties or taking a lot of drugs, or even fucking going to competitions which your teacher recommends you, you might gain some respect from your teacher, from her. But in the end, if you take on too much of these, then it can definitely take a hit on your time, which, as a student who is looking forward to get to the uni or changing or learning life-changing skills, you should really focus on those, and you should have a clear set of goals to either go to the university or just graduate or just to develop these skills that, for example, you can learn specific jobs. You should concentrate only on the goal and not really external goals that other people put on you. And so you should really think hard about what you want, because essentially if you are doing something different than what you want, then naturally you are gonna develop some friction in your life, which first is, it's not gonna be fucking productive, but second, you are just gonna cripple your mental health, and we don't want to do that, not just for studying but for general well-being. And also for the big breaks, summer, winter, spring and fall breaks, you are not gonna want to follow this practice either. I know it sounds really cruel, but once you like uh, lack on this habit of waking up early and working on a really hard task, then it will be tremendously difficult for you to get back on it once you're back in the school. If you're not gonna study, then at least do something productive once you wake up. So once you get back to the school, it will be easier for you to acclimatize yourself into studying again. What I do right now is, instead of studying, I work on fucking business in the morning. But the point is this, to not use breaks as an excuse to become a degenerate and to become someone who lost his ability to do the hard work, especially when he doesn't feel like it.